Hey, it's Elvis Duran. Just like you, I love listening to podcasts. Sort of like you're doing right now, right? But after you finish, when you're ready to hear the hits, I invite you to check out Z100, New York's #1 hit music station. We play the biggest songs from the biggest stars, like The Weeknd, Ed Sheeran, and Doja Cat. Listen live on Z100 in New York or wherever you are on our iHeartRadio app.
Hi there, I'm Zach Braff.
And I'm Donald Faison.
We're real-life best friends, but we met playing fake-life best friends, Turk and JD, on the sitcom Scrubs.
20 years later, we've decided to rewatch the series one episode at a time and put our memories into a podcast you can listen to at home.
We're going to get all our special guest friends like Sarah Chalk, John C. McGinley, Neil Flynn, Judy Reyes.
Show creator Bill Lawrence, editors, writers, and even prop masters will tell us about what inspired the series and how we became a family.
You can listen to the podcast Fake Doctors, Real Friends with Zach and Donald on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, everybody? How are you? I'm Ray Harkins. You're hanging out with 100 Words or Less, the podcast. Happy pre-Thanksgiving if you're downloading this on the day that it comes out, a Wednesday. And hopefully you're spending some time with some family, some friends, getting a little chill time away from work and all those other stresses that creep in on your life. And hopefully, maybe take it easy on the turkey, okay? Maybe just don't eat turkey this year. Maybe just a thought. I don't know. This is coming from a person who, obviously the vegan variety. I always, have been avoiding that. I mean, I haven't eaten meat. I'm 39 years old now. I haven't eaten meat since I was 15 years old. So, it can be done. Anyways, enough with the propaganda, right? That's what you're saying. No. Anyways, we have a rad chat today with Johannes Persson from Cult of Luna. I was so excited to hook this up because Cult of Luna is such an incredible band, a prolific band, a band that has put out a ton of records. They've been active for a very, very long time. And I just really appreciate all of the music that they put out there. I've followed the band from, I'm trying to think of when I dove into them. I think it was, their first signing with Earache Records and the Beyond record, their first proper LP, but just have loved the band ever since then. And got to see them once. And I know that the guys are, come from the punk and hardcore scene. And Johannes was we nerded out deep about stuff, and it was really, really good. So we'll talk to him in a moment, but let me get some things off the top of my head. You need to support the show, and that support can come in a myriad of different ways. One of them, you can go to your favorite podcast catcher and review the show, whether it's an Apple Podcast, Stitcher, whatever it is. Please do that because it just kind of helps. It legitimizes the podcast in many different respects. You can also email the show 100wordspodcast@gmail.com. I'm going to be experimenting with some new stuff in the new year to maybe make this a little more sustainable in regards to because people email the show. They're like, hey, how can I support the show? I'd like to give you some money or whatever. And I'm going to try to figure out a way. I did a little Patreon thing a couple years ago, but then obviously I've gotten advertising, and so I'm just trying to get this dialed in to where you, the listener, get the show on a regular basis, and obviously it makes it easier for me to dedicate more time to this. And I'm just thinking out loud here, but kind of going to do some experimentation next year. Okay. So be prepared with that. But I just appreciate you listening. That's ultimately what it comes down to, because this community that has been built around the show is really important to me, and I don't take it lightly, and I don't take your time lightly. So that's why I present these conversations like I do, once a week, not trying to take up too much of your time, but at the same time, I hope that you get something out of these as I put them out there. And what else do I got? My mental health. I appreciate you asking, because you've been very engaged with me as I've been kind of journeying through this and expressing it out loud. And things are much, much better. I feel, kind of at an even keel. The anxiety that kind of pops up in me now seems to be a little bit more muted, which is good. I appreciate that, through medication, through therapy, all those other things. So I'm very happy at the place that I'm in, and that I'm going to continue to focus on, over the next many, many months, because I realize that this is a process. This isn't like, oh yeah, well now I'm feeling better. So there we go. Right. No, this is a process. So Johannes, let's dive into the conversation. It was so good. And here he is. Okay. I'll talk to you after the episode is over, and I will tell you what's coming up next week. So I'm going to take you back to what I think, maybe this was like 2001 or 2002. So I saw you on tour with Breathe or Resist at Chain Reaction here in Southern California. Yeah. You guys barely fit on the stage because, you had all of not only your equipment, but then, you had 45 members in the band at the time.
Was that a show at Orange County?
Yes, that was Chain Reaction in Orange County. Yep.
Yeah.
And I was
I think it was like 2005.
Oh,
to be honest.
Okay, no, that's fine. My memory totally, it gets all jumbled. But I just remember being, really transfixed and blown away by you guys. Like I knew I was going to enjoy you, but you definitely, brought it that night, as the kids say. But I have to imagine that most bands that have the experience of touring the States, after, being a band, because, by that time you guys had done your fair share of touring over in Europe and, the surrounding countries. Touring the US is probably extremely difficult for you guys, I'm going to guess. Or was it fun? Like, do you have fond memories of that?
Oh yeah. That tour was very special to us. First off, like doing your first US tour is very special, and that's kind of, it's something that you're always, you want to reach out. Look, when we started this band, just playing outside of the city, that was big, even though it was like just small cities around Umea where we were from. And then, you want to tour Europe, and we did that. And then, the US was something special, and we were lucky enough to hook on, Mastodon just before they kind of like became big. They just released the Leviathan album, and we did 3 weeks, like 2.5 weeks with them. And just after that, we did like a week with Breathe or Resist, and that tour is still very special to us, and especially when, the tour with Mastodon was really good because they kind of draw kind of a big crowd, at least for us at that point. With Breathe or Resist, we played like a week of like smaller shows, but at that point it didn't really matter. It was just the excitement of being over there and to be able to go to the West Coast. So it was a bunch of pretty special shows to us. And like you said, as far as I remember, that's like I think I have a very clear memory of that stage, and it was quite small.
Yeah. Yes.
We were like at that point, still we were 7 people on stage. So but I'm very excited to hear that you were there. We didn't know what to expect. Any people, that went to our show was very appreciated, since we basically hadn't done any promotion or anything like that in the States at that point.
Yeah. Well, it definitely felt like, for me, honestly, I was like, well, I don't know when I'm going to see them again. like, I don't know if they're ever going to be able to come back to California, because it felt like, it's not easy to get 7 guys from Sweden to tour the States, like for 4 weeks at a time. Like that's a really expensive endeavor. And so I was like, well, if I don't see them now, like I don't know if I'll ever see them again. And I still have never seen you guys again from that perspective. But so it definitely felt, special for the people, in attendance, even though, whatever, there was like, I don't know, 60, 70 people. Like it wasn't a huge show, but it was really,
no, it wasn't.
Yeah. But it was really, like you said, it was, special, and you could tell the, I guess, excitement. And I do like how you, described just like the feeling of, I'm sure it's like once you guys got to California and like, looked at the ocean, you were like, why, this is crazy. We're here.
Yeah, it is. Like, I mean, we're from the city where we're from, Umea. There was a bunch of bands that had toured the U.S. And I mean, it's a small city. It's a small city from in north of Sweden. But when like I started getting into the hardcore scene, playing the U.S. that was not unreachable. It was something that like people did if they got successful enough. So just getting to the US was something that, even though, it was, it was special to us, and it was something that was really exciting, but, still, that's what bands do. They toured first they toured Sweden, then they toured Europe, and then they toured the US.
Right.
But to be quite honest, like that was, I could strike that from my bucket list, and that would be the end of the band, and I would be happy to
totally
to be able to do it. Just those shows.
Yep. Totally. No. I very much understand that, because anytime you are in a place where you're like, my music brought me here, and that is a weird concept, especially for hardcore and punk and metal. Like this is stuff that obviously has a subculture and people pay attention to it, but it just doesn't make any sense. Where you're like, why am I here? But awesome, I'm glad I'm here.
And that at that point we kind of moved away from the hardcore scene, so we hadn't really at that point found an audience, so we never knew who would show up at the show. And especially when we did that show, or we did that tour with Wed Nov, we had no idea who would show up. As long as we were touring with Mastodon, we knew that their fans would show up, and whoever liked us, and whoever didn't. With Wed Nov, that was just like that was a totally. We had no idea who would show up. In Orange County, like we had a few friends from bands we had toured with in Europe, but apart from that,
you're like, we don't know.
We had no idea who would show up.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, kind of reflecting on you as a person, were you born and raised in Umea, or did you come up in another city?
No, I wasn't. I'm kind of a bastard from north and south.
Okay.
We kind of, depending on like my grandfather died just before I was born, so they moved up to my father to my grandmother on my father's side, way up north, and then we moved south to my grandparents' city on a small island in the south. And after that, we kind of, when I was 6 years, we moved to Umea, so that's where I grew up. And but the thing is, when I was like 11, we had 1 year when we moved to another city, but it didn't work out. And when I moved back, I reconnected with old friends, and at that point, like my old friends, they had like they were connected to the hardcore scene. And I had a friend he's still a really good guitar player, and he taught me how to play guitar. He taught me how to play the old like Inside Out songs and Outspoken and Strife songs, and that's pretty much how my guitar playing started.
That's awesome.
And 93, 94 or something like that.
Got it.
And that's really when my interest in punk and hardcore really like grew, kind of where my interest of the instrument, the guitar as an instrument, kind of spawned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was always really interesting too. I mean, I'm 38 years old and from Southern California. And so, I got into hardcore, 95, 96, but it was so interesting being, starting to see all of these things coming out of Umea, from, the Straight Edge as Fuck compilation to, Final Exit to Donuts and obviously Refused. And like, it just seemed like that hardcore community was so active in so many bands, and it just seemed so it was so weird because it's like, like you said, you mentioned Outspoken and Strife and like all these things happening in Southern California, but you're like, what the hell's in the water in Umea that all these bands are happening? But like, obviously it was like that.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a weird period. I mean, I can talk for hours about this. Right. But but what it boils down to is when I started high school, and when I kind of got into when I got to know more, like, because I'm from a small village just outside of Umea, and that's where I started I skateboarded and listened to everything from Bad Religion to Cypress Hill. I was like a sponge, just like getting into anything that is affiliated with skateboarding, basically. But the hardcore scene was there, and as I told you, I learned how to play the guitar from my friend, and I started high school. And the high school in the city I was in, we were like 600 peoples, and out of those 600, like 300 or like 60% was vegetarian, and out of those was like 30% was vegan. And so it was such a big subculture, this whole hardcore straight edge scene. And pretty soon, I got to know people, and I played in this kind of youth crew hardcore band, and I did my first show as a 16-year-old playing in front of like 500 people.
That's crazy. That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so there was a lot of people involved, like both on the stage, but also off the stage. And I need to credit Dennis for. He was Dennis from Refused. He was kind of authority at that point. And I remember walking off stage after my first show. I was 16 years old. I was a kid. I was almost a child.
Yeah, you were a child, right?
And yeah, exactly. And I remember like him being very positive. Oh, that was great show. That meant a lot to a 16-year-old kid. You can never underestimate what that kind of encouragement means. And I must say that with some retrospect, there were a lot. Everybody was encouraging each other to do different things, because if you listen to like Straight as Fuck 1, 2, 3, the band started off sounding pretty much the same. And on the third compilation, everybody kind of spread out, tried different things, and tried to find their way of their creative output in very different ways, and that was encouraged. It wasn't like it was. Sometimes I can feel like hardcore can be very conservative when it comes to music, or when it comes to the attitudes to the music, but everybody was encouraging each other. And like there's a lot of very successful bands coming from very small group of people. But now, like, you know, we have Culture Luna on one side, and we have a couple of bands that's been very successful in Sweden, might not be successful internationally, but play very different kind of music than we do. But we're from the same scene. We're from the same small group of people, and that's kind of a receipt of the encouragement that we were giving each other to just try out to do different things. And that's something that I think is very, very important when you're young, that you need to get that encouragement, even though you're like, look, the band I was playing at that point, and we were not good objectively, right? And we were just
sure.
Like, if you listen to that demo we recorded, it was probably the most horrible thing put to tape. But
what was the band's name?
It was called Revive, and the demo was called In Defense of the Edge.
Dude, that's so perfect. I love it. Yeah, you were probably just being like, hey, let's try to rip off Chain of Strength or something like that.
Yeah, no, it was more of it was more, you know, it was a reveal. Do you know about that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was a reveal rip-off band, basically.
I love it. But yeah. I know, I really think, I'm so glad that you described the scene as such, because the only way that, you know, scenes become stronger and younger generations come in and all that sort of, you know, stuff happening is because people are encouraging. And like you said, people are encouraging of bands, you know, doing different things and branching out, and like, you know, whatever, Abananda all of a sudden being kind of like, you know, a rock based hardcore band or whatever. Like, all of these things happening can only happen when other people are encouraging each other to push each other, and then all of a sudden, you know, be whatever, in the Backyard Babies, like, you know, just doing all these different things. And yeah, I totally understand. And honestly, I really think that only certain scenes and certain geological areas or geographical areas can produce that, you know, like, yeah. But yeah, that's just, I think it's really funny where you're talking about like your first show being in front of like 500 people. 'Cause like, you know, that's like that, like you said, that's a pretty big subculture.
Yeah. I mean, it was big, and it's so weird when looking at it in retrospect, because I mean, that was my universe. It wasn't anything like, looking back at it now, it was so weird. And especially looking back at my city now, that it's completely different. Like something like a subculture where like every week, like 500-600 people would show up at the hardcore show in a population around like 100,000. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. But it was such a weird atmosphere, which wasn't weird when I was growing up. It was normal.
It was normal,
because
right?
It was the only thing I knew.
And it's so funny because I'm sure it's one of those things where, you know, a band like Unbroken is incredibly meaningful to, you know, you, and incredibly meaningful to me. And so it's like, you know, like, I'm sure that they, you know.
Hey, it's Elvis Duran. Just like you, I love listening to podcasts, sort of like you're doing right now, right? But after you finish, when you're ready to hear the hits, I invite you to check out Z100, New York's #1 hit music station. We play the biggest songs from the biggest stars, like The Weeknd, Ed Sheeran, and Doja Cat. Listen live on Z100 in New York or wherever you are on our iHeartRadio app.
Their first shows were in front of like 20 people, and you're like, my first show was in front of 500. What's wrong? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But look. Even though my first show was in front of 500 people, but I've done shows.
Yeah, in front of like 10, right? Yeah.
Well, actually, the worst show I ever done was probably, I think it was 2 paying and 2 promoters.
Perfect.
In Madrid. Yeah, we were more people on stage than there were on
yeah, it was like practice.
Yeah, but look, that's where, I mean, if you can do a good show in front of 10 people, you can do an amazing show in front of 10,000.
Exactly. Listen, the holidays are right around the corner, and there is literally nothing better than you can get for your family or friends than the gift of sound. And Sonos is the best speaker that you could possibly ever invest in. I have my house outfitted with Sonos because they're just the best. You can control all of your music from an app, sync it up within like 5 minutes once you open the box. And it's incredible. You can have different music playing in different rooms. You can have, your holiday classics playing in your kitchen as you're making some stuff. And then maybe the kiddo is listening to something in his or her room. And then maybe, your family and friends are listening to something in the living room. It's unbelievable. And they just came out with a new speaker called the Sonos Move that is a battery powered speaker that can sync with your Bluetooth, and you can take it anywhere. You can take it to a park. You can toss it in the backyard. I just love the thing so much. I cannot tell you how much you need Sonos in your life. So go to Sonos.com, check out their entire product line, and trust me, you are going to look like the most coolest gift giver possible when you bring Sonos into the living room, into the house, and be like, hey, here you go, Mom. Here you go, Dad. Let me get this set up for you. And all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, my life is changed, because that's frankly what happened to my life when I first started getting Sonos into my house. So thank you very much, Sonos, for your continued support, and visit Sonos.com to learn all about their amazing products.
So yeah, once you started to like dive into the scene and start to play in bands and all that sort of stuff, did you, you immediately got taken by the idea of playing in bands and everything like that.
Yeah.
But, did you, I guess, was there support at home for getting into this kind of, weird stuff? Or were your parents like, I don't know what you're getting into. This is bizarre.
No. My parents, they were very supportive.
Okay.
I need to give them credit for that. I mean, it's, like I said, I'm from a village outside of Umea, like a small community, and what's normal there is that you pretty much, when you're 15, you get drunk and become an asshole, basically, and I've been very outgoing from a very young age. And like, I don't even know where I would have ended up if I weren't getting into straight edge and hardcore, because I was hanging out in the wrong crowd before that. And I mean, straight edge and like animal rights and other like political issues that I was getting myself into. I think my parents were just happy that even though like I was hanging out with some people that were on the militant side of this whole thing. I think my parents was very happy that I didn't,
Yeah. You didn't go down that path.
Other trouble. Yeah. So no, they were very supportive, and especially when it came to the artistic side of hardcore, and they try to get me into like playing the guitar earlier than when I actually got into it, but like I wasn't interested in taking lessons or anything like that. But when you actually, with not much effort, actually learn songs like that you actually listen to. Like the first song I ever learned was Burning Fight by Inside Out.
That's so good. Yeah.
And I really struggled to learn it, and like then I moved on, and I remember that I thought that the day that I learned outspoken Shadow, that's when I'm a great guitarist.
I love that.
Yeah,
it's so good.
And I learned that song, and then I actually got interested in the instrument, and I basically locked the door for two years and just practiced.
Got it. And did you did you care about school? Were you looking forward to like going to university and that sort of stuff, or was that just not a part of the plan?
I didn't know. I had no idea what I was going to do. My problem with I'm lucky that I have been able to pretty much go to school without putting in too much effort into it. I'm lucky to be able to catch enough to get through the subjects that I wasn't interested in, and the subjects I was interested in, I had like the highest grades. And in pretty late adulthood, I got this AHAD diagnosis.
Oh, sure.
Which kind of, explains a whole lot. And I remember, like, I did all these tests, and I did all these, thing with the psychiatrist and all that, just for fun, basically. But when they told me, like, we're gonna give you this diagnosis, and I thought, fuck, what if they would have like tested me for this when I was a kid, and I actually got good grades in school? But then I realized, well, I've kind of managed to do good without it, and I'm really happy at the place where I am right now. So, like, there's no point of like crying of spilled milk.
Yeah,
or
what happened in the past,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. But I actually went to university. I studied philosophy, and I studied economic history. But I started at that point. I started to tour a lot, and it took too much time, and that's what I wanted to do at that point. And I took like dead end jobs that I could like tell them to go to hell when I was on tour and record music and all that for many years, until I was like 27, 28, when I started to realize that, look, I need to think of life outside of music, but music was my life.
Right.
Between it still is.
It still is, yeah.
But it was the old. But now I have other things. I have like a professional career. I'm a parent of two. All that stuff. But at that point, that was the only thing that I cared about. It was music. It was touring. It was expressing myself through music.
Sure.
From I was 18 to like 28. That was it.
And this is always something I've been curious about, and I've only had limited exposure to it because of just the bands that I would randomly work with at Century Media. In regards to in America, we've got no support for the art system whatsoever. There's no government subsidies, nothing like that. But I know in Sweden that it's very different, and I know some bands are able to capitalize on that to where it's like when I say capitalize, it's not like, oh wow, you're making thousands of dollars off the government just because you're playing in. We're
not.
Right. No. But it's like, I'm sure that stuff that, you and your friends have obviously pursued and have had that. Like, so, I mean, I know it's a big question, but can you kind of, I guess, break down a little bit of how that works for you guys?
Well, what you said is not incorrect. It's correct. But for us, we have never had any support from anyone.
Okay.
I mean, we that's the best thing I've learned in the hardcore scene is the do-it-yourself attitude.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, the first time we with my band isn't active anymore, but the first European tours we did, we booked ourselves. That was like, it wasn't before internet, but it was before you were connected all the time. So basically, we booked tours ourselves. We didn't get any support from anyone. We didn't get any support from the city or from the state. I mean, now when I'm older, you can get grants and all that, and we've got some grants, but in general, we've got nothing from anyone. Even though you, like you said, you can get grants and you can get support, but I think that's a system that needs to be worked on.
Right, because you have to. I'm guessing you have to submit proposals and do you have to do really official things in order to get these things, right?
Oh yeah. I just talked about it with a friend actually today.
Okay.
To get in order to fill out the forms to get support from the Board of Culture here in Sweden, you need to fill out forms that it's even more complicated than the forms you need to fill out to get a visa to the US.
To travel, yeah.
It's not worth the money, man.
Yeah.
And but we're lucky in the sense that we've got to a point where it's not really crucial
for
us to be able to do stuff.
Yeah. It's just, like I said, it's just something that is so foreign to any band in America. And it's like, even in Canada has a robust program for, bands to be able to receive grants to, fund part of their recording. Like I remember, Cursed, it's like they got parts. They got parts of
Cursed.
Yeah. Unbelievable band. But like they got, they got portions of their record covered, like their recording advance, like covered via Canada. Yeah. And I'm just like, in America, like I can't even imagine a hardcore band being like, hey, can you pay $1,000 for a recording? It's like, no, you idiot. Of course not.
Yeah. No, but I mean, you can get grants for pretty much as an individual musician as well as a band. And we actually got like $5,000 for the Mariner album that we did.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah. I actually took the time to fill out those
the paperwork. Yeah.
Forms. Yeah. It was.
Yeah, it was homework.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, almost not worth it.
Right. I understand completely. And so, Cult of Luna has existed for, 20 years now. And it's such a interesting band because like you said, at the beginning, early 2000s to the mid 2000s, like, you guys were very active, working with Earache, working with, Hydra Head, like putting out a lot of music for as dense as the music as you guys write is. Like you were being very prolific. But I guess for you, when did you start to feel that people were paying attention to like Cult of Luna? When you started to, play out and tour, or was it the fact that like, oh, we got a record deal? Like what made it feel, I guess, quote unquote, real to you?
That's so weird because we've never had any like immediate success.
Yeah, you're a slow build. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not trying to get an easy laugh when I say this. I mean, we're still, when you play like festivals and stuff like that, and when you do line check and you see there's like 3 people in front of stage, and is anyone going to come when we play? I mean, that's still like built into our system up to 20 years. I don't know. Like after something happened in 2006 because we did the heavy lifting initially. After signing with Earache, we did some strange tours. We toured with Poison the Well, and we toured with Bleeding Through. We toured with. I mean, they didn't know where to put us, like with what bands we should be, touring with. But I think that was good. We met, audience that wouldn't otherwise have seen us. And it kind of, we built from there. We toured a lot between 2002 and 2006 or something, or even later than that. But after we released Somewhere Along the Highway, something happened, and especially when we had this, like after we released an album, Eternal Kingdom at 2008, and after that we took a couple of years off. We were off Earache at that point, and when we got back, we were thinking of either people are gonna forget about us, or people are going to be hungry to see us. And that's, I think, where the biggest kind of jump in the amount of people that actually came out to see us. Mm-hmm. Or and also we did a US tour in 2014. All these years, the years are just like blurring. I can't remember.
It's okay. Yeah.
But at the beginning of the 2010s, that's where things started to happen.
Yeah.
And where we actually would like stop losing money, I think, which we just briefly stopped doing.
Right.
And when we actually got a manager that knows money, like we know nothing about that stuff. We know about music, and we've been so bad with money and all that. I mean, we are from a punk background where that is not an issue.
Yeah,
So
you don't care about it, right? Yeah.
No, and I still don't. It's like it's not. I can tell you one thing. We did this 6 weeks tour in Europe in the mid 2000s. In the winter in Europe, and that was like, we call it the tour from hell. It was horrible. Like, everybody got a cold, and when somebody got well, somebody else got sick, and like the cold were like spreading in the van in circles. And at that point, we decided that, like, look, this is not going to be we are not going to be, or we don't want to be financially dependent on this. And that could have been the end of the band. But we decided to tour less, basically. I love touring, but I don't love touring too much, because me personally, I'm a passion-driven person. Like, everything needs to be drawn out of, like, my passion to express myself and the passion to play. And as soon as it gets a job, becomes a job, kind of the passion get drawn away.
Sure.
So that's why we don't do longer tours than like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it is very interesting to look at it like that, because the idea of, that's how every band built their fan base. Like, tour relentlessly as long as humanly possible, sacrifice everything you can possibly do. But now that there are, bands that can exist, frankly, in the way that you guys do, where you're able to put out records when you feel inspired, and you have the support of a label to be able to help you do that. And then the people that pay attention to you are devoted to you, because it's like, dude, I don't know if we're going to get another Cult of Luna record. Like, I don't know if I'm going to see them again. Like, maybe they'll come here, but I don't know. And so I think because you've made the shows more, few and far between, people feel like they have to go out, as opposed to, I'll see him again in 4 months.
Yeah, it sounds like a marketing plan, but it's not.
No.
It's like, I am aware that we are in a very privileged situation. Like, what I and we are doing is a well-paid hobby. I get paid to do my hobby.
Totally.
Like, I have like me and everybody else have a career outside of music. Except Thomas, his career is music. So every time we go out, it's with 100% heart and 100% passion, and like, it needs to be, music needs to be spawned out of that. And I'm not judging anybody else. Like, I'm totally in awe of people that manage to do, like, I have friends, I see the tour schedule, like, how the hell do you manage to go on stage like 40 shows in a row? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah.
Like, it's incredible that people actually manage to do it, even though touring is, you're in a privileged situation, and it's very, it's not a hard life at all. It's very easy. But it's also a very, like, hard work to be able to, especially our shows, which is basically like an emotional catharsis every night for me. Every single night, it's like, I can't do it for too long. It would be me acting more than actually doing it, if you understand the difference. Yeah.
Oh, totally. You're like, this is, you look at 40 shows in a row and you're like, I'm exhausted after 10. I can't do 30 more.
Yeah, exactly. It would be just another night. And as soon as it's just another night, that's when it, I kind of lose the purpose why I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. Every show, every night should be special.
Sure.
And that's how I look at it. And like, every show that we do, when I'm on stage and when I go on stage, it's not it's not. I almost said it's not for fun. It is, but it's not.
Attention BetMGM customers. Have a friend who loves sports as much as you do? Here's a chance for both of you to earn a $50 bonus when they sign up through BetMGM's Refer a Friend program. Just sign into your BetMGM account and click on the Refer a Friend program to send your friend a message inviting them to register a new account in the same state you use BetMGM in. Once your friend signs up and makes a deposit, they'll receive a $50 bonus. And once your friend places a bet with their bonus and the wager is settled, you'll receive a $50 bonus as well. Share the excitement and get a $50 bonus every time you refer a friend to BetMGM. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. New Jersey only. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable site credit. Site credit expires in 30 days. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, it's Elvis Duran. Just like you, I love listening to podcasts. Sort of like you're doing right now, right? But after you finish, when you're ready to hear the hits, I invite you to check out Z100, New York's #1 hit music station. We play the biggest songs from the biggest stars, like The Weeknd, Ed Sheeran, and Doja Cat. Listen live on Z100 in New York or wherever you are on our iHeartRadio app.
Have to do it, right? Like,
It's not a knack. It's nothing that I just do because I have to. It's something that I do in order to, I don't know, get something out.
Sure.
But after a certain amount of shows, like I'm drained. I'm like I don't have more to give.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't do like I can do 20 shows. That's it.
Sure.
Then I'm done.
You're like, I know my limit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen up.
In a world where everyone is confined to their homes, society begins its largest binge watch to date. In the hallowed library of Hulu, or perhaps on a shelf of DVDs you haven't looked at in a decade, is a show that perfectly encapsulates life in the early aughts and launched a friendship that would inspire millions. Hi, I'm Zach Braff.
And I'm Donald Faison.
In 2001, we starred in Scrubs, a sitcom that revealed a glimpse of what it was like to survive a medical internship. As Turk and JD, we explored guy love.
Nearly 20 years later, a lot has changed. We're not Supermen, but we're still best friends. Given the mandatory lockdown, there's no better time to relive the series that brought us together in the first place. And we're doing it with a podcast.
That's right, people. We're going to bring friends and crew members and fellow cast members and writers. And guess what? We're going to even invite some of you to call into the podcast and ask all the questions you want of the entire Sacred Heart staff.
Join us for Fake Doctors, Real Friends on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
I know you go to a ton of shows, right? There are many, many times where I've gone to a show and I've been like, man, it would be really cool if I had like a pizza party with the band, or just something that is a little bit more intimate, a little more, dare I say, VIP. How about Soundrink? Go to soundrink.com and they offer up all of these awesome VIP packages from bands that are, they're not just like some standard, like, oh, hey, watch a band play an acoustic set and then, shuffle out of the venue. They work with artists to tailor these events specifically for what they feel like the people who are attending the shows will want. And it's awesome because they've literally had like play board games with your favorite bands, have coffee with your favorite bands. Like, it's so cool because even though the facilitation of this is, obviously to help bands make some more money, it's also to bring the connection between the band and the people attending the shows much, much closer. It's like, hey, you want to have this unique experience? Like, how about we do this? And I've seen so many of these go off without a hitch with Soundrink, and they just know what they're doing. So go to soundrink.com and you can find your favorite band coming through your town and then find the really cool VIP experience that they have built out specifically for that particular tour. I love what Soundrink does. Pros, and they know what is up. Soundrink.com. Thank you for your support.
It also seems really interesting to me that it seems like you've, like this, I'm sure obviously was not a planned thing, but you have collected a fair share of, very, very reputable record labels to work with, from, Earache to Metal Blade to Hydra Head. Like, it seems like you've just kind of gone around to be like, hey, who else cool is there to like work with from a, label perspective? I know that's, like I said, not this like overarching plan that you guys have had. But, it's pretty interesting that you guys have been able to like find these people that get your vision and get what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, we've been very, very, very lucky. I mean, look, if it wasn't for this guy from the UK visiting his girlfriend in Skellefteå, which is a city even further up north in Sweden, nothing of this would have happened. So this guy, Duncan, from a small, very independent label called Rage of Achilles, he visited his girlfriend and in Skellefteå, and we played this free festival called translated it's called Woodstock, but in Swedish it's a free festival every year in the city.
Okay.
And he saw us and he asked us he actually approached us afterwards and asked us if we wanted to record a mini CD. We said yes. I recorded basically every song we had, which became an album, our first album, and that kind of drawn the attention. It got pretty good reviews and brought the attention of Earache. And I think at that point I had sent our demo to Hydra Head. So that's the story behind that. After we had kind of done our share of the Earache deal, I took a step back, and I don't deal with labels anymore. Like I've always been a huge fan of Metal Blade ever since I was like 8 or 9 years old, and saw the Metal Blade label on the Lizzie Borden album Menace to Society, and thought that it was the coolest name of a label ever.
Yeah,
like Metal Blade. How much cooler can you get than that? So like I don't. It's going to sound like I don't care, which isn't true, but I leave.
You leave the business to the business. I know. I understand. Yeah.
Look, for the first couple of years, I had a finger in everything with this band, like everything. But I don't really. It's not like I don't care, but the only thing I really care about is our artistic is the reason why I got into music, is to write music, record music, and the way it's presented, like the artwork and stuff like that. All the business part of the band, keep me out of it. Like right now I work with people that I trust, and I'm leaving everything to them. And I just want to sit down and concentrate to write music.
Right. Yeah. You want to focus on the creative side of things. And yeah, it's like the business is not of interest to you. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
And especially too, I think people that can recognize that from a, can recognize that in themselves and be like, you know what? Like, I don't care about this. I don't want to be involved in this, and can let go of that, because some people can't do that. They're like, oh, I'm not good at this. I don't care about it, but I still have to have control. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to run this band into the ground or whatever, like you see that all the time.
Yeah. And keep me away from anything that involves money, because I'm so bad with it. And I'm a fairly okay songwriter. That's what I know. That's the only thing, and that's the only thing I want to do. I want to write and perform music.
Sure. That's what you want to focus on. No, I totally get it.
Yeah.
And so like when you did step back and stop to reevaluate how you wanted the band to tour, and then kind of, like you said, you kind of took that break where, you guys weren't actively going out there. Was that, were you scared to do that? Was that a time where you were like, I don't know where Cult of Luna sits in my life, even though it's been such a central point of it. Was that a scary time for you to kind of reevaluate what your priorities were?
It wasn't scary in terms of the band. It was more scary for me personally.
Sure.
Because I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life, basically. I know that I always wanted to be involved with music in some form, but I didn't know if I would be able to. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life, basically. From my perspective, it looked like everybody else had a plan without me, or except me. So from my perspective, I needed to do something. So after we had kind of, we had finished our deal with Eric, I moved from Umea, and I just got out of the city. I had to do something, and kind of, took a couple of years off, just focusing on what I wanted to do professionally. I wanted to work with the film industry, and I kind of started a career with that, which I'm still doing. And I'm lucky enough to be able to, after a while, kind of reconnect with the band. But the problem was when you kind of push the stop button to get the machinery started again, that was pretty tough. So it took a long while before we started to write music again. And now that's a couple of years back. That was like in 2011 or something like that, maybe 2010. But from there, it's been a pretty, the creative part of the band is never like we've found a way of working, and we found a way of like a social foundation within the band that everybody's happy with. And that's where we are now, basically. Like we're better friends now than we were when we were touring a lot. I can't remember when we had a proper band fight.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great. And I think that has to do with the fact that everybody feels, they have another life outside of the band. It's not everything. It's a lot, but it's not everything. And socially, we're in a good place. Everybody's more or less a good place. At least it's rocks. Like our relationship within the band is rock solid.
Rockabilia.com is the only place that you need to look for band merch, plain and simple. Use this code PC100words. That's the number 100, because some people have been like, hey, should I type it out? It's like, dude, that's the longest promo code ever. So 100, the number words. And that gets you 15% off your order. They have the highest quality band merch. Fast shipping, all authorized by the band. This isn't some horrible ripoff stuff, which actually next week I will be airing a conversation I had with one of the co-owners of Rockabilia, Frankie, because we get into the merch world, as it were, at large, and it was such an interesting conversation. So the Rockabilia is just the best. I love the company. I love what they do. It's a small business. You're supporting people who are doing the real work, who are making sure that you are properly outfitted. They have 500,000 items that you can order from. And let's be honest, the holidays are right around the corner. You need to start thinking about what you're getting your little brother or little sister or mom or dad or whatever the case may be. They have band merch from all of your favorite bands and their favorite bands that you can order immediately, and you get a little discount, okay? PC100 words, okay? Do that up, and thank you, Rockabilia, for your continued support.
Well, because you all, I think it's important because you all have, different priorities. Like the band is still a priority, and all of your lives are clearly still, going forward. And like you said, the career, family, all that stuff. But it's like, it just makes you a more well-rounded person rather than like this sad, person who's like trying to cling on to the idea of becoming a rock star, which is not who you guys were, obviously. But just like, you see those people who are just like, hey, you can also do something else. You don't have to just do this like all the time. there's other options out there,
I think the most important thing, and I'm going to come back to this, is that everything is motivated out of passion and not, like you said, trying to become a rock star or but I don't know. I had nothing to compare it to. Like my the people I play with, there's no egos involved. There's no people trying to get a career out of this. Every person is involved in this band is doing it solely out of the passion of music.
Totally.
And I can tell you one thing: I am so privileged to play with such a bunch of talented people. I don't know what I've done to deserve this, but it's again, I talked today with a friend about it. Like, we started off as kids. We started off as kids. Nobody knew anything about anything, and now through the years, Magnus, that started off as a drummer, is now he's recorded pretty much every album. Yeah, pretty much every album since the second album. He's a very famous producer, and he's probably the best person to master pretty much anything. Eric, that was a guitarist from the start up until 2013 or 14. He's still a good friend. He's been doing all the artworks since 2004. He's an amazing artist, like a visual artist, and I've been able to do a lot of videos. So we have been a self-sufficient band, pretty much since day one. Not entirely, but almost. And so we've been able to do everything from the music to the recording to the artwork without anybody like tampering or trying to. We have done our stuff.
It's a community. You've built a community around the band, and everybody contributes in the way that they need to, from artwork to visuals to everything else. It's like everyone has their corner. Yeah, it's a village.
I mean, look, I'm gonna be completely honest. When we were young and like signed the deal with Eric, we did pretty much everything they asked us to. Like the first, the first music video we did, for example. It's horrible. It's not anything we're proud of today. And we did a lot of things, like we said yes to pretty much anything they asked for. But it was also like an eye opener. Like this is not us. We don't want to do this. So after that, we became quite a hard band to work with. We actually started saying no. And this is not what we are about. This is what we wanted to do. This is what we are going to do. And this is the band you signed. And I think the minute we started to do what we wanted to do, and the minute we started to say no, that's where actually things are started to, go well for us.
Right, because you were happy. Like even if something fails and it's your decision, it feels so much better. Yeah. It feels so much better than being like, oh, we did that because you said that, and then it sucked, and then we were well, I totally understand. Yeah,
exactly, and that's actually something I'm proud of. That a bunch of people that were almost kids. I mean, we were 19 to 22 at the time, and we started to say no.
Right.
We that's where we started to kind of have our vision of where we wanted to kind of how, or basically what we wanted to do as a band. And I think we kind of stuck to that. Even we have the same attitude today.
Yeah, no, that's really, really cool. A few last things I want to hit on before I let you go was the you played in Coma, am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Still technically do.
I know you still technically do. I just remember was it the seventh, the first EP? What was the name of that? The seventh something or other? What's the
first record we put out wasn't it called Tsunami?
Tsunami, that's it. Sorry. Yeah. I just remember, like, I was working at Century Media and we got a copy somehow. And I just remember being like, what? This is the dude from Cult of Luna. Like, they're making music that could almost be heavier than Cult of Luna with like the most soaring vocals possible. But it still in my head does not make sense why that band did not break through in even the second wave, like when you guys signed to Roadrunner. Like, I don't know, I'm not just trying to blow smoke up your butt, but holy crap, Coma is really good, and I'm sure that was a really interesting experience for you.
Yeah, and I can tell you why it didn't. That was because I agree. That band could probably have become quite big, especially at the time that we were when we kind of started playing shows and all that. It all came down to some of the band members that had other priorities. Basically, I mean, we had everything laid out for us, and I'm not in any way. I'm not bitter at all. Like, I'm very happy where we are at the time and what motivates us. But I mean, we were offered big tours. Sure.
That's what it seems like. Cause honestly, to me, it was always like, oh yeah, these guys are basically just like, a heavier Muse. And like at that time the Muse was coming up. And so, anyways, but I can only imagine what was kind of the biggest tour that I sort of some of the weird things that Coma was offered, because clearly, like you said, there was weird opportunities, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think we said no to a lot of tours. We said no to, and it was probably for the best, to be quite honest. I think we said no to Evanescence. We said no to, I don't know. To be quite honest, I don't want to be affiliated with that band.
Right, I understand.
I think we were offered a tour with My Chemical Romance.
Okay.
Like
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
who you were going for.
Like, we weren't going for any, like, that band is very interesting though. Because me and the vocalist Jan, we were the band at that point. It was me and him, basically. And I remember, like, at some point we tried to like write commercial music, something like that. And then it was such a defining moment for me as a musician when I said, screw it, we're not going to do this. And at exactly that point, I just started writing we were all sitting there, and I started writing, and we ended up with a song that's called Like Coming Home. Now,
oh yeah,
and that was like I've been repeating myself. That was a song that we still play live when we play live, which has been a long time ago. But it was spawned out of passion and thing that I wanted to do, not what I tried to do something that wasn't me. And that was such a good lesson. Like, you shouldn't try to do anything; just do what I want to do. And that's still a defining song. Like, that's one of the best songs I ever wrote, I think.
Dude, I still, like, there's a select group of my friends that we all, like, once I played coma for them. Like, I mean, there's like 5 of us, and like every so often we're just like, God damn, dude, that band. So yeah, so you, way to go, way to put out that record, or way to put out all that music.
Well, thanks so much. It was so weird. Like, I mean, we like I'm totally focused on Culture Luna now, and John is I think he's a professor in social science, and I met up with him this summer, and we talked about like, should we do anything? Yeah. I mean, we kind of work very very low intensive for quite a couple of years, and me and John, we had a long walk with his kid. And started talking about it. Maybe you should like start doing something again. Yeah. And then he told me like, we're getting our second kid. We're getting our second kid. Okay, well, look, I'll talk to you in three years.
Totally. Yeah, maybe. I mean, look, maybe 2022 we'll do something.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's the thing with John and me. We've been friends for such a long time. We're probably going to write and record music again. I would be surprised if we wouldn't do it. But you will not see us tour with My Chemical Romance. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're like, that's not what we're doing. Yeah. The last 2 things I want to hit on, and I promise I'll let you go. I was already a fan of your band, but then when you, like we mentioned earlier, with Unbroken, and then you doing when you did the Absentee Debate cover on that 7-inch.
We did Recluse.
Oh no, Recluse. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just was like, my head hurt because I was like, wait, I already like this band, and then I like this band even more because they're doing an Unbroken cover, and clearly most people that probably consumed that have no clue who Unbroken is. So what was it interesting for you guys to kind of like put that out there and see people, like, did you get feedback from that song, from people being like, I never knew who Unbroken was? And then, I mean, I know, Rob and Steven, I'm sure obviously heard it, and, you were friends with them and stuff like that. But, yeah.
No. That's just recent through Instagram. Like I met Rob, first time like 3 years ago. I actually flew over to see that Sensefield.
Oh yeah, I was there too. Yeah, the John Butch Forever. Yeah. We were in the same room.
I was there. Like there were so many bands that I grew up with that was playing. Like, okay, I cannot miss this for the world. So I went there and I met Rob. Look, I did a whole interview yesterday just about Unbroken. So I could talk about them. That's the most important. It's the most important band. That's the band that kind of took me through my teenage years. That's the band that I like when I learned how to write music. That's the band that I stole from, that I tried to emulate.
Right.
Like the band that I started, like my first like serious band, Eclipse. That was basically an Unbroken ripoff band, and after a lot of member changes, I thought that, okay, we cannot keep the name, so I need a new name, and that became Culture Luna. And the first demo, you can still hear the influences from Unbroken in the first demo. And it feels like I put that vinyl on just last week, Life of Regret. It's the most important album in my life.
Yep, I feel you.
Yeah. And I could talk about that album for hours, all the aspects from the recording to how, the whole booklet of them just writing down like the personal, like each member of their like page where they wrote
their collage,
where they were at. Yep. Yeah, exactly. And how that resonated with me and my anxiety, growing up. Like I had a couple of rough years at that time, and it was perfect for me. Musically, it was heavy. Like I was into all these like heavier part of the hardcore scene, and what they did on Life, Love, Regret was like another level of. I can't compare it to anything else.
I'm with you. Yeah.
And then you have I mean, I love everything that Unbroken put out, but Life of Regret and those two 7 inches after that was clearly something special.
So did people, I guess, like, did you have correspondence with people being like, I don't know what this Cult of Luna song is. I know it's a cover, but like, was it?
Yeah. I'm kind of introduced Unbroken to a lot of people.
That's cool.
And I'm really proud of that cover because like it's going to sound weird because we've done a bunch of covers, but I don't see any reason doing covers if you don't do it in your own way. You know, if you're just going to sound exactly like the band you're covering, it doesn't make any sense where you should do it. But I put a lot of effort in try to honoring that song, but doing it in our own way, and especially like the last third of it would be quite hard because it's very fast.
Totally.
And I remember like I put a lot of thought of like how we could do it in another way, and I think we kind of. I'm really proud of that cover. That's the best cover we've done. Yeah,
it's a great cover. Yeah, for sure. It accomplishes exactly what you're talking about. It introduces people who may have never been exposed to hardcore or punk or anything. All of a sudden, be like, oh yes, what's Unbroken? I need to look into that. So and then like you said, you put your own twist on it. So. The last thing I want to hit on was the fact that, because like you said, you have a career and obviously you have a family and, you've got 2 children, viewing your life through the prism of, DIY and punk and hardcore and stuff like that. Do you feel that obviously informs your role as like, a dad to your kids, as, a partner with your wife? Like, how does that stuff kind of reflect in your head as you are, now doing these things that, many adults do, but many adults don't, cover Unbroken in their band and stuff like that.
I think I covered the life lesson that I've learned through the scene is that I'm not waiting for anybody to do anything for me. Like and that's what I try to learn my children, to be proactive, or to teach my children to be proactive and don't like take the initiative, and also like in the career, like what I'm doing, I'm working in the film industry. You need to kick in doors. That's the thing. I mean, you need to be proactive. You need to be out there but the most important thing also is to have some standards for yourself morally, to have high standards and expect a lot from other people, but expect more from yourself. I don't know if that's from the DIY scene, but that's what I try to teach my children, and that's the kind of code I try to live myself, to try to be the best version of myself in some weird way.
Sure. I totally understand that. I mean, I think it's one of those things where when you have been raised in the subculture that we have, like, you just, uniquely have a different point of view, and the idea of, being permissive with your kids, whatever it is that they're into and how involved you are as a parent, like, you just want to like help them find the thing that, is whatever, the outspoken record for them, it's like, just, that's what you want.
No, you're actually hitting the nail on the head there. They're not going to get into punk. They're not going to get into what I like, but they're going to find something different.
Totally.
And I'm going to be very, at least I'm going to hate it probably, but I'm going to try to be supportive.
Totally. No, for sure.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful part of understanding what your role is as a parent. It's where it's like, yeah, I'm probably not going to understand it, but I'm here because my parents did not understand me putting X's on my hand, but they still allowed it, and that's fine.
Look, my kids don't like my music, but they love me anyway, and I'm going to return that favor when they're old enough.
That's so good. I love that. Well, dude, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Well, thank you so much. I'm a big fan of the show. I'm really honored that you took the time to talk to me.
Yes, Johannes, thank you so much for coming on the show. This got hooked up via Nikki over at Metal Blade Records. I appreciate you, Nikki. Thank you for sending this over to me. And Johannes, I just appreciate you having this nice, fluid conversation. It was a very late night for him, but he was able to dial it in and, not sound like a rambling madman, even though he totally was like, yeah, I sound like a rambling madman. And I'm like, no, you didn't at all. So next week we have Aaron Gillespie from the Almost and Under Oath and all those bands that you know and love, or maybe you don't love, but nonetheless, Aaron is a great conversation. I got him. He was at an airport just waiting for a flight, and it was great because he just was, very open and vulnerable and all those great things that you should be when you're about to engage in a conversation, about your life and be reflective. And it was great. So Aaron is on the show next week, and I like the fact that I can have someone from Cult of Luna and someone from Under Oath, from a week-to-week basis. It's so cool. I love it. I love music. It's beautiful. So hopefully your Thanksgiving was great, and travel safely, and give everyone a hug, right? Because that's what this whole thankful season is about, right? So until then, please be safe, everybody. As always, special shout out to Sonos. You need to go to their website, sonos.com, and learn about all of their products, because you know what? You will probably look at something on there and be like, you know what? This is perfect for my brother, or this is perfect for my sister, or my aunt, or my uncle, or my dad, whoever for the holiday season. Look like the coolest gift giver around by getting them the coolest gift that you can possibly wrap your head around, and give them the gift of sound. Sonos.com to learn more. Thank you very much, Sonos.
Hi, I'm Esther Dean. I've made my life by writing songs like Fireworks by Katy Perry, Super Bass by Nicki Minaj, What's My Name by Rihanna, just to name a few. And now I'm having an absolute blast sharing some of the knowledge that I've learned with upcoming songwriters on Songland on NBC. I'm excited to welcome you to a brand new season of Songland and Songland's podcast, giving you new insight into the magical art of songwriting, as told by some of the best in the business, and also the pioneers and the up-and-comers who will be shaping the hits you'll be listening to for years. We have an amazing roster of talent this season. I promise you don't want to miss one single episode. Don't miss Songland, Monday nights at 10/9 Central, and join us here on Songland's podcast, available every week after the show on the iHeart app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, it's Elvis Duran. Just like you, I love listening to podcasts. Sort of like you're doing right now, right? But after you finish, when you're ready to hear the hits, I invite you to check out Z100, New York's #1 hit music station. We play the biggest songs from the biggest stars, like The Weeknd, Ed Sheeran, and Doja Cat. Listen live on Z100 in New York or wherever you are on our iHeartRadio app.